Hi there. Welcome back to another episode of Get to Know Us. This is going to be one with Savan DePaul, otherwise known as Ishtar Senior. And we are releasing tomorrow their final video, Ishtar Reprise. It's the last track on their album Divine Ectasis, which released in back in May, and this will be the final video from that album, and it'll be on our Bandcamp, attached also to their Bandcamp, and also on our YouTube. And yeah, we weren't doing this back when their album came out, and we really want people to get to know Savan, who is an incredibly talented musician. So yeah, let's see. Going to bring them on. Let's see. All right. Oh. Hey,
Hello. Hey.
how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Really good. Yeah. Busy day. Excited though to be here with you. Yeah, and really excited about dropping the video tomorrow. It's really awesome. Um, yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted to, we just yeah, yeah. So yeah, just wanted to get to know you a little bit so that our followers know who you are. And yeah, so I wanted to ask firstly, kind of like when you first got into music, kind of like your first, maybe your first song or album, that maybe
Oh yeah.
anything like that that you wanted to talk about.
Let's do it. I first started when I first started writing like stuff like creatively, I was more so like kind of this is back 2012, 2013, kind of just tossing around some ideas and stuff. Um, but that stuff didn't really go anywhere. But in probably I want to say late 2013, I started began recording stuff with with like found objects and like random mic like that. And that was in high school at the time. And and I figured I'd use that as an outlet to just kind of express myself because at the time I was, I'm like a kid who's going to high school. At the time I just recently been diagnosed with autism. I was in a predominantly white, predominantly really reactionary town when where I went to high school and middle school. So I felt like I needed some sort of outlet to, get out what I was feeling at the time. And I decided that rap would be that outlet. So like, so starting like the end of 2013 to 2014, I started recording some material. Um, a lot of it, I didn't feel like it was good to put out, but eventually in the middle of my high school tenure, I dropped my first EP. It was called the Attic EP. I dropped that like just like six little songs, just on some like it was. And I mind you, I started as solely a rapper, um, and then as opposed to the multidisciplinary artist I am today, I just started solely as rap, and I got a little big ups. I was burning CDs and selling them around town or whatever, and putting stuff out on digital, free little places like SoundCloud and Bandcamp and stuff. And yeah, that was kind of the start of it. And I was basically, there wasn't many people around, especially in hip hop, but even in music in general, there was a lot of people who were like, who I was coming up with that were, invested in it. It was more so like, just a bunch of white kids doing whatever, just making a mockery of it and just doing whatever. And just, but I've kind of felt like, hey, I'm want to do something with this and take it somewhere. So
Yeah,
that was the start of it.
that's awesome. I love the burning of the CDs and stuff and passing them around with friends and around town and so forth. Was that also like in Philly? Were you in Philly then too? Or you?
This was in I went to high school. This is in Royersford at the time. had done this when I went to middle school and high school in this town called Royersford. Um, it's Montgomery County, so it's like it's
Okay.
it's real close to Philadelphia County, but Montgomery County is just a little bit more up
Yeah. Yeah.
here. It's like 45 minutes away. I um yeah, and
Yeah, I'm
north
a
south.
little bit familiar with that. I lived in Philly for 6 years, and I'm from Reading, Pennsylvania. So, like, yeah, I'm a little bit familiar
Reading's
with like.
Reading is like 20 minutes in like the other direction from Royersford. Reading is super close to Royersford.
Okay, yeah, it's funny. I don't know if I've ever been there though, but yeah. All right,
You're,
cool, cool.
you're not
Um,
kind of a cult. It's kind of a cultural dead end. That's part of the reason why I don't like it. I don't.
yeah, I felt that way about Reading, to be honest. So, yeah, yeah. So I guess like. So when, like, how far back can you remember, like, getting into music heavily, like, just in terms of as a listener and a fan, and like, when did that kind of happen for you, and like,
As a
what were
listener,
you listening to first?
yeah. Um, as a listener, yeah, I can remember like literally like my first like to back to my first memories is like 3 4 year old. Um, my my mom well because all things it's funny because my mom was like a huge Prince fan and had tons of so like lots of Prince, like a lot of his discography and a lot of like dance hall reggae and raga mixes. So I was kind of getting that stuff and like kind of more mainstream pop from her. I remember
Cool.
my grandma. She loves, she likes a lot of like old school R&B, um, bossa nova, sounds like that.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day, I remember back in the day when Robin Thicke came on the scene. She liked Robin Thicke, like early Robin Thicke.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I feel like even like you talking about Prince and like reggae and all that kind of thing, or dance hall, I can definitely see all of those influences, even, in your music, even if it isn't like on the surface, like your major influence, or, major influences or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure, for sure. And I know my mom got me into Damian Marley, who's probably like, he borders like sits on the border between reggae and rap, and he's done like, straight rap shit and done some reggae shit. He's one of my favorite artists ever, and he's got 2 albums of I think are like, some of the best albums ever made, and it's my personal opinion because I grew up with them, so it's like that Welcome to
yeah.
Jamrock album, a classic in my opinion.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Okay, cool,
and then
cool. Yeah, yeah.
and then
So
um,
yeah, and I definitely want to talk about like more of your influences or not. But before we get into that, like, why don't you tell us a little bit about um this Ishtar Senior album? Because I know you had done at least one or more songs under that name before, but this was like your first time putting out a full release under
yeah,
that name, and kind of like how that came about and what this album is to you, and whatnot.
yeah. Oh, also, really quickly, I forgot to mention that my aunt was also my aunt was a big hip hop head, so she was the one who was introduced me to hip hop. And she was the Eminem stan of the house, so the first hip hop I listened to was Outkast, Nas,
Oh, that's
um,
great.
Eminem, like, and a lot of like underground shit too. Like my aunt had a lot of like old like mixtapes and stuff and whatever, and like rare stuff that wasn't like some didn't have a lot of commercial releases, so I like knew a lot of like mixtapes and obscure stuff that are sitting around in my drive probably aren't in a lot of other places. So, but back to
That's
Sharcine.
Yeah, but no, that's really cool to hear, like, all of these family members that are women in your life too, that influenced your
Oh yeah,
music background listening, which is freaking awesome. Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. With our senior, I guess going into how that came about. Um, so I think I first kind of got the idea of just like kind of Ishtar thing. In 2017, and I think it was like right around the time that I was finishing up this album called Sketchpad, which I released with it's now defunct, but it's now defunct um, label called Vivid Kind. It was a collect. It's like Georgia based. There was a collective slash label of like electronic producers, a couple rappers, including myself, some singers, mostly electronic producers. And at the time, I kind of was affiliated with them, and I released an album that was kind of like guided by some of their, shout out to Gardner, shout out Garden Sound, shout out George Antonio, because they helped me with a lot of like the techniques that I know today. But at the time that I was finishing it up, I was also kind of conceptualizing this kind of album about. Originally it was going to be called Ishtar and the Cosmophile. Like it was originally this it was going to be me rapping stuff, like a story of like someone, a story of this character, of this Ishtar character and something else. Um, but over time, it was also at the time, this was like 2017. This was 2017. So I had known that I was queer, but I was closeted at the time. So as I was kind of working with demos, whatever, and kind of been closer to kind of being like, okay, closer and closer to that date of I'm fully embracing myself. And kind of when that happened, I back to the demos and was like, let me revamp this. Number one, let me like revamp this because I want it to be less of a focus on some like one story and more so like these collection of tales to be like to represent this journey that I'm going through. Oh, Cody's in the chat. What's up, Cody?
Hey,
Cody's
hey.
on the Starter Prize too. So,
Awesome. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, so
yeah. Oh, but then, and you worked on the video, right? Or I know, or the Ishtar Reprise song for sure. I know there's several songs
this
from the album, but yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so also on I think that a lot of ways also like helped me whatever. Like there was one person who I had reached out to for like who was contributing some features on this early draft of this record, and this is some different dude. This is some British dude. Me and him had a falling out or whatever. He turned out to be a really icy person behind the scenes. So it's like, and then I kind of this kind of couple things like kind of happened that felt like I need to shift the album to something else. This shift to this new idea that I had.
Hmm.
And even then, until like I started fooling, I'm like, wait a minute, why don't I just do like this pop? Why don't I do this like art pop, hyper R future R&B thing? Um, so that's what I did, and I started like as I started reworking the original demos, I started making a lot of other songs, or other songs and stuff that were separate to that project, and I kind of let off those. I know I reached out to I knew to the label Astronautico with one of them, just for a small release, and I did end up doing that at the beginning of 2020, and then I had a little independent EP after that, but it was all kind of leading up to this album.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even down to the title of the album of its transformation and it's yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you wanted to share anything about that if you wanted to.
I carried the cicada theme over to because I can't get enough of the cicada theme in my rap, so I carried that over to the song, the pop stuff too. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, very cool. It's such an awesome album and you know it has the sounds of lots of things you can put your finger on, but that it's also very unique and in itself and you definitely have your own sound and everything. Which brings me to like your influences, like what are some of your biggest influences or musicians that have kind of stuck with you or
yeah, so with the I guess it depends on like a breaking down to like what aspects of music that they influence, right? So
yeah.
for my writing process, I feel like it's for how I write or whatever, it's a lot of like abstract hip hop artists, a lot of abstract rappers and underground rappers that are um I don't know how like familiar you are with like underground hip hop and all that stuff, and like the kind of the renaissance of like experimental hip hop that's kind of happened over the last decade or last 2 decades. But like a lot of that stuff has been like how I write and like how I spit and how I rap, and how I, even when I'm writing pop songs, how I craft pop songs too. Even when I craft, I'm putting a bunch of rhyme schemes there, and I'm writing pop songs like how a rapper would write rap songs, but I'm trying to do it a different way, But
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
there's
so
like,
yeah, a ton of artists.
okay, cool. And is there like any specific artists that,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um, there's this duo. There's obviously the duo of Arm and Hammer is a big one, even their solo stuff too. But Arm and Hammer is this duo out of New York, made up of Elucid and Billy Woods. They've been active for a long, long time. Both been active for decades, or at least 2 decades at this point each. Um, and they've been in the duo Arm and Hammer since 2013. Yeah, 2013. So 8 years. Yeah, they've been a duo for 8 years. They've both been rapping for a really long time. They have, they both have like really stacked discographies. They're
Yeah.
both rappers and really like attentive writers and abstract how they flow and how they craft concepts and how they go back and forth. They're goated, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. And bringing up Billy Woods, like I know you have talked about More Mother before, and that album that they had done together is pretty amazing. Yeah. I didn't know if you wanted to talk at all about her or anything or
Absolutely, absolutely. More Mother is fucking also really a nice person, first of all, or just a really cool person. And yeah, she's an amazing like artist in general. Like even with all the rap stuff that she does, a really expressive and interesting like jazz artist and poet as well. Um,
yeah,
like as far as like sound design, she's a sound design and I feel like her as well as like, and some other artists too, Madame Data as well, and Bjork as well, have like really been influential in how I approach sound design and how I approach like the sonic, the full sonic scope of of a song or a composition that I'm making. Like they're really influential in that. And yeah, More Mother is just like More Mother is one of those artists that you can't box in. Like she does
yeah,
something so much different, all dope as fuck.
yeah. It's
And
like she could take on anything and make it brilliant in her own, like noise even, and like that kind of, yeah, just yeah, pretty incredible. Um, yeah. What about like, yeah, I didn't know if I know wanted to talk about any like other collaborations that you've done, but also I'm interested in hearing about what you're listening to right now. If you want to take a stab at either of those or both of those.
let me do collaborations. Let me switch it up because
Yeah,
I was originally influenced, but I got a lot of
yeah,
collaborations. So with
yeah.
let me actually spoil one that's not rap because I have a lot of ones that are rap or that are rap rock stuff and things that sort, like in crossing the rock territory. But I do have something with Infinite Bliss cooking up. I don't want to
Oh
go
my
too.
gosh. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. Okay, okay. Yeah.
we got yeah, me
All right. I can't
there.
wait to hear that. That's awesome. That's freaking awesome. Yeah, Infinite Bliss is just I have nothing but love for Eric and everything, and like yeah. We were even working on a little thing too that we haven't really finished. But yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. So do you want to say anything about it or like what are
Um,
you
I just will say, I just want to keep it, limited and just say that,
Yeah.
it's something really,
Well,
really kind of,
that
we
sounds
kind
it
of,
sounds like amazing. I mean yeah. So well, I'm excited to hear that news. I'll be
cool,
like
cool.
texting them after this, texting them like what? I can't wait to hear this shit. So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Anybody else you want to talk about?
abs-
Cool.
absolutely. I have a bunch of stuff, but I guess we could. I guess I want probably do want to shout out at least one or two, the one that are dropping later this year. Um, I've I'm my good friend. She's a rapper. Her name's Danae. Danae, she's a member of the Ice Cold Collective here in Philly. She's also, a Philly MC and producer and artist, and also a visual artist and a painter. She's very, very talented, very, very dope, cool person.
Cool.
We have a collab rap album coming in September. It's called Free Spirits. We're gonna do the promo stuff real soon. Yo, what's up, Chris? What's up?
Oh
And
yeah, hey. Cool, cool. And I didn't even think to ask, but like if any of these folks are on Instagram, maybe we can share their
oh
their
yeah,
handle, maybe like after, yeah, so people can
yeah,
check out who we're talking about. Definitely, I know Infinite Bliss is
I'll
on
have
here. It's
some.
like confusion. Yeah,
Yeah,
oh,
me and Danae are dropping that.
yeah, um, yeah. And the artist you just mentioned, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name again. Can you repeat that name again? The one that
Yeah.
you're.
So I put there.
Okay, cool. Oh, yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, cool. Um, yeah, and is there anything else you're cooking up that you want to
And one,
mention?
yeah, one I got. There's a lot, but one more that's dropping at the very near the end of the year. Um, it's I guess this one's going to be in November. This is me and a New York-based producer called Mimar Sinan. We are the duo called Sagan Theory, and we're dropping basically a space rap concept album. We're doing some space rap stuff. The album's gonna be it's
Oh,
called
cool.
Asteroid 9. That's coming closer to the end of the year.
Cool.
So
Yeah, you're busy. You're a busy person. But I love that, and
yeah,
I think a lot of people that within Grimalkin and outside of Grimalkin, like all the collaboration, people have got so many projects going on. It's exciting to see that.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, as far as like what you're listening to now, I know you mentioned Arm& and Hammer. Um, I think you had mentioned some other folks, but is there like anything like right now you think people should check out that you're listening to?
Yeah. You should definitely check out fucking number one, Center Dialogue. Um, their new album is really, really good. They're a rapper. Their new album is awesome. It's called Afro Pessimist. Definitely, that's definitely a dope one. Um,
Did you say separate dialogue?
yeah, censored dialogue is their
Censored.
rap name.
Sorry, sorry. It was like cutting up a little bit. Okay, censored dialogue. All right, cool. I'll
Yeah,
definitely check that out.
yeah.
Um,
Also, probably I listen to so much stuff. I listen to so much
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, I understand.
Um,
It's hard to think
yeah,
sometimes, like, because there is so much stuff. I think
Pink
you
Sea
had
new album is great as well.
who'd you say again? It cut out again.
Pink Sea, yeah, Pink Sifu's new album is really good.
Cool, cool. Awesome, awesome. Um, yeah, so I guess I wanted to talk a little bit about, I mean, you're part of Grimalkin Collective and, we mutual aid is really important to us and um I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about if you could share some of the mutual aid stuff that's going on there in Philly um, that people should be aware of.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the there we go. Now it's all good.
Yeah, it keeps kind of glitching a little bit. Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
it wouldn't, yeah, always tech issues going on.
it's always something. But yeah. So here in Philly, there's a bunch of you know initiatives and people were taking like initiatives for for mutual aid and stuff. one of the biggest one of the biggest I guess kind of funds that's going right now is called the Coalition for Black Trans Economic Liberation. I'll say it again. Coalition for Black Trans Economic Liberation. Um, they're probably one of the biggest like fun orgs things as far as like for for like aid or whatever in Philly. They're nowhere near not the only one, but
Yeah.
they're a big one that I definitely tapped in a few times. Um, they handle a lot of funds and stuff like that for the Black queer community. Um, Also, obviously, organizations like Project Safe and that work in like organizations that work in tandem and help out, that are sex worker organized and stuff like that. A lot are doing a
Yeah.
lot of stuff as far as mutual aid goes, like orgs like Project Safe, the Philly Red Umbrella Alliance, and Stilettos Inc. are organizing and doing events. They're putting outreach out there. I mean, Stilettos Inc. at the most recent event had like a political candidate who was a former sex worker spoke there. There was there's a
Yeah.
lot. There is there's mobilization out here. And despite a lot of pushback that sex workers get in general, like they're still out here
Yeah.
when it's done.
Yeah, for sure. And I know the tape proceeds for your release with us are going to Project Safe, and I think we have a few tapes left. If people want to check, I think we might even have a couple of lace left too, if folks want to check that out. Um, and yeah, and so part of what we're trying to do within Grimalkin is just sort of making some small positive changes too within like music in terms of like support and how we kind of run and function as a label. And I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, like if there was, well, there's so many things we could change, but about the music industry in general. But if you could pick one thing that you could change amongst the million things that we could change, what do you think that would be? What would it
Um,
be for you?
it would be I don't know. There's a lot of things, but honestly, like look at how promotion, how promotion works in
Mm,
our how promotion and how sales of music work in in our capitalist society. Because I pay attention to charts, a little bit and how they function or whatever, and how it's very common for you know labels and executives and labels to engage in like the trickery needed to boost this artist if they want to drive as much profit as possible out of this, and a lot of it's really hard to like for organic grassroots promotion to really to get to a really really big level. At some point it hits a cap, and I wish
yeah,
how both the incentivizations and the systems that were in place could be ones to incentivize something that's organic and something that is worker controlled, that is artist controlled, that is and artist fed as well, because we're not just building that stuff up for ourselves, we're doing it on each other, because this music stuff is a community. So
yeah,
we want to uplift each other, and we want to make dope shit, and we want to celebrate and perform that dope shit and share that dope shit with other people, and
yeah,
there's a lot of things about the industry that needs to change about that. And I think how we promote and how we look at sales is a big way of doing that.
yeah, absolutely. It's really tough. It's probably the promotion aspect of it is probably the toughest thing. Like we're slowly just trying to do it ourselves and gain and make connections with people who really care and want to support what we're doing. And it's just so difficult because of all of the middle people basically that the people who have the control over who gets out there and who doesn't, and just getting somebody's attention who has that power, to open your email and then click on your album and give it a chance. It's like
Yeah.
it's so hard. I mean, I was just talking to Eli about this the other day, and I posted recently just because there's several, and some of the smaller people who've really been supportive and who are doing really good work who write about music. A lot of them end up, having to like kind of close shop because it is so difficult, and if there's no money or funding for anything like that, and people burn out, and it gets smaller and smaller, like who we can really count on to like help get out the word about our artists. And yeah, it's just it's just so tough. I probably send our stuff out to like 200 some people, absolutely, every release. And it's like trying to get that attention when you're competing with so many other people, and there's just so much gatekeeping in that aspect. And then basically, like, all these people who do it for money, and they charge artists, or they would charge a label, which we don't have funds for, like thousands of dollars to like promote your album for like a month or whatever. And like basically, essentially, like, you're paying them because they've made connections with the gatekeepers, and those gatekeepers will listen to these people who are getting the thousands of dollars from artists. And obviously most artists can't afford that. It's just such a ridiculous system. um, no, trying to compete with that is rough. But hopefully, in time, we'll just be trying to do it ourselves and make connections with people. Yeah. But I do really think that music is uh, is important, and it can be a bridge for positive change and a vehicle for change. And I'd like to hear, like, as your parting words, like, if you had any parting words of wisdom or advice to people who are either making music themselves or trying to do it, or just what you'd like to see better in the world for yourself and other people in general, or
Um,
both.
I feel like there's a lot that I could say here. I guess picking a little bit up, bridging that last topic into these topics.
Yeah.
Look how we kind of there's a lot of things that we have to interrogate as far as like social norms, how they relate to art and music, and our industrial complex, as you could say, and how even then, like, even how we look at things like charting, and how we track like the organizations and companies that which track sales, and how do those things today, and even those companies are involved in the reification and defense of property and of capital, and even in some cases of like of imperial capital. But it's hard. It's really hard. But I think one of the things that we kind of have to do is we kind of interrogate like our relationship to music, how we're how we're relating it to kind of yeah, what we're saying, like what we're using it for and what we're doing it for. So I guess that's one thing that I really like to stress about music, is kind of stressing what are we using this music for? What is this music? What is the purpose of this? Because there's so many different ways you can do it, but do we want to interrogate? Okay, what are we doing with this music? And can we imagine doing it that way in a world where we have to deal with these systems and norms? And if so, or if there might be a shift and a little bit of modification along the way, what are those modifications? What does that kind of look like, and what are the steps needed that we can take to do that? For me, I guess with rap, it's somewhat okay. So there's obviously there's community aspects, there's competition aspects in rap, right? Like of who's got the best bars or whatever, who's doing this, who's these stuff, who's doing this, whatever. And there's also community aspect of it, of collaboration, of ciphers, of things of that sort. But then
Yeah.
I kind of go with it into like, okay, looking at those things, okay, I see those things can exist without these oppressive structures, but okay, so how are we feeding those oppressive structures right now, and what can we do to subvert that? What can we do to counter that? What can we do to critique that and then keep it moving? You
Yeah. You know, you talk, everything you were just talking about made me think of there are these really amazing people out there trying to make differences in those kinds of things, like loop sessions, for example. Like that's that's happening in different cities. We got one in the DMV that Mags had started, and basically it's about building a community where there isn't it's not about competition or somebody making something better than somebody else. It's just more about, someone sharing a crate, learning about the crate, listening to it, sampling it, making a track, sharing it with everybody. And it's just like this really positive thing. And I think like the world needs more of that kind of stuff happening within music, things like that are building community and relationships with people, and people are having opportunity to talk with each other and interact within music in a positive way that's not about money, and it's not about making the charts or trying to outdo another person or whatever. And I don't know, yeah. And I know we talked about it before, that it would totally be up your alley, so I hope you do come to one of the loop sessions. It's like the first Friday of every month typically. So September 3rd should be the next one, and they'll drop the crate. It's always a surprise. They'll drop the crate Thursday night, typically around like 8 p.m. And then you have from then till Friday, 7 p.m. to get the track in. And then if you want to join the live Instagram with them and talk about your track and like hang out with everybody and maybe shout out stuff you got working on, you can do that. But you don't have to. Like, not everybody wants to come on Instagram, or can. You can just turn in your track and they'll like share it on their soundtrack, on their SoundCloud. But it's a really cool thing. It's just stuff
know?
like that. It'd be great to see more people, creating spaces like that. I think that kind of thing can make a difference. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say or share with everyone. But I really
To,
appreciate.
I would like to add that I do think there's a lot of ways that you can approach these kind of how they rethink music spaces and how we approach them, because I think places where are just community and just kickback and just are sharing cultures like that. I do think we need spaces that are just solely like that. I think we also, in case, need spaces that are blend community with like explicit action, explicit you know doing some sort of like action or work or some sort of service or some sort of like, I hate to say political, but some sort of organizing, you know,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
explicit or actually like doing some like real radical shit. I feel like we need those kickback spaces, but we also need that action too.
yeah. And I know like within Grimalkin, we're trying to make small steps towards doing those types of things within what we're doing. And I know you're also part of another collective in Philly, correct? And that's also
Yes,
kind of speaks to what you're saying. Like, I don't know if you wanted to share about the Apple commune. I think
Bad
I
Apple.
can't remember.
Yeah, Bad Apple Commune is that collective. Um, it's so I guess like a really quick primer to that. Like that kind of started. Um, the formulating the idea, that was 2019 is when the collective itself started, and people were meeting up, even though the seeds were kind of being planted in 2018, but kind of
Yeah,
2019 was where it started. um, we were doing a lot of benefit shows for bail funds. We were doing a lot of we did an art exhibit showcasing Black artists specifically for our Black October event. um, we were just obviously like doing hangouts and kickbacks and stuff, and we're reading stuff, doing like political education stuff, kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. Um, and obviously, and then when the obviously pandemic and the George Floyd
yeah,
uprising, the rebellions, kind of switched that, and kind of switched priorities, and like people end up, we ended up taking different approaches to what we were doing as far as our organizing, but that
yeah,
was that music stuff art, the art service of that goal was the original kind of, purpose of that. And I think as of right now, kind of we're in a weird period where we're kind of like morphing back into that kind of pre-rebellion music stuff, kind of music stuff, with the benefit show that I and another member of the company just organized, doing kind of that benefit show, doing music and stuff like that as a kind of that vessel again.
Yeah, we were doing a lot of that stuff, at least locally in Richmond before the pandemic, and then that kind of put the benefit show aspect stuff on hold. I mean, we were pretty much doing stuff almost monthly and whatnot. But I mean, we are hoping like, this is something I just thought of because I remember you mentioning there being like some educational like workshops and Skillshare stuff that you had been participating in locally, and that's definitely something like I'm hoping to get us more involved in, being able to host that kind of thing and having the funding to be able to pay folks to also, speak and share, and
Yeah.
be able to host that. That's definitely like where we're headed and whatnot. But and we would want to collaborate, with all sorts of other people who are already doing that, and kind of cross sharing information and skills and stuff like that. And I think that's really important to make, for the changes that we want to see, that has to continue. And yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to, I know we didn't really talk about it any great length before, but I was curious if you wanted to share anything about the kind of stuff that you had been recently involved in, or know folks who are actively, hosting those kinds of things for folks. If that's just a Philly thing, or if that's
Some of these are more specifically Philly based things, like Philly centric things, and like I guess the like Skillshares and workshops and stuff there's actually more coming up, but as far as like mostly like Philly kind of specific stuff.
I see. Yeah. Is it surrounded around organizing work there? Or is it like any of it like music related, or
Um, I'm not. There are like youth music related stuff, but I'm not that's other people who are doing that kind of more music related to youth. I know there's some people who are affiliated with Die Jim Crow who are also in Philly, and I've done a little bit of stuff with Die Jim Crow before, as far as doing like little helping out with like benefit shows and hopping on a bill or whatever. But
yeah.
and they're really dope. But yeah, there are Die Jim Crow people in Philly here too, and in general, they're also just like workshops and like stuff for like community stuff that people need, like aid and stuff like that. Just like stuff that is not music or art related, but more so like people need this out on the street, or like need
Yeah.
this in case something happens, like that stuff, kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I have nothing but great respect for like, uh, the FCRC, the Food Clothing Resistance Collective, which they're based in Baltimore right now, but they basically do mutual aid work for all of the DMV area, and just like raising funds and collecting food and toiletries and whatnot, and passing them out, getting them in the hands of folks who need them. And I believe they're Maroon Movement on here on Instagram. They should definitely follow them. But yeah, it just made me think of them.
I already do that. Shout out Sima Lee. Shout out all of them. That's
Yes, yeah,
yeah. But in the chat, if y'all put that in there.
yeah, yeah. Let's see if I can put that in there. But yeah, they are. Yeah, here they go. Wait,
Yeah.
but they're really doing important work, and just like, Hunting Dog is really involved with them, and like whenever they do releases with us, proceeds always are going towards them and whatnot. But yeah, just love hearing about people like that who are just really doing it and been doing it and are helping people. So yeah, um, and I really appreciate you coming on to talk with us today. And I'm really excited to hear about or hear your all these collaborations and whatever you do next. And I just really appreciate you being a part of Grimalkin. And yeah, you're awesome. So thank you for you being
Thanks for
you.
having
All right, cool. Well, I'll talk to you soon. All
me.
right,
All
you
right.
take
Yeah.
care. Thanks, everybody. All right,
Bye.
bye.